Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the subcommittee. The first item of business on the agenda this morning is to appoint a chair, so councillors can I have a nomination, please.
Happy to nominate Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? No, we're happy to proceed. Councillor Harris, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello and welcome to this meeting on the Thursday, the 22nd of January 26. I am Councillor Dave Harris. I'm a councillor for the Beerchurch ward, and I will be chairing the meeting this morning, as you just heard. To begin with, I have a few matters to go through of housekeeping. Action in the event of emergency. There are no practice alarms planned for today, so if an alarm sounds, please evacuate the town hall by going down the main staircase or the back staircase to the High Street and then to the car park behind the town hall in Rumwell Street. This meeting is being held in the Grand Jury Room in the Town Hall in Colchester, and is also being broadcast live over the internet, where it can be watched via the Council's YouTube channel, where the recording will be available to view afterwards. Please would speakers therefore use microphones at all times and speak directly into the microphone. Members of the committee may use electronic devices to access the meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use mobile phones and other devices, including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them to silent, and do not use voice or camera flash functions. Now, there are toilets on every floor in the building and an induction loop in this room. With the exception of the Democratic Services Officer advising us, would participants always please mute their microphones unless they are invited to speak. I will ask for the item of business to be presented, and will then proceed in accordance with the hearings procedure guidance, which will ensure that everyone who wishes to has ample opportunity to address the committee. To summarise the procedure, which is in the pack, I will invite the licensing officer to present the report, then invite all other parties to present their case. There will then be an opportunity for any clarifying questions from the committee and for the parties to the hearing to provide a final statement summing up their case. We may break at 12:30, subject to the progress of the meetings. Now, introductions, I'm going to ask each participant in turn to confirm their name and that they understand the processes and procedures for the meeting. Starting with my left.
Councillor Lewis Barber, Lexington Braeswood Ward.
Councillor Alaki Akinyemi, Glenstead Ward.
Rebecca Strawn, Legal Advisor, and I'm happy with the process.
Thank you.
Matthew Evans, Democratic Services Officer.
Sarah White, Licensing Team Leader, happy with the process.
Alison Chapman, Licensing Officer, happy with the process.
Jack Davis, representing the Home Office, happy with the process.
Thank you very much. Substitutions. Now, we are a subcommittee of the main licensing committee, so there is no substitutions. So the three of us here today are bona fide members of licence and are trained in the process. Item 4, declarations of interest. I invite any councillor to declare any interest for any of the items that are on the agenda publicly now. I see no indications. Item 5, therefore, minutes of the previous meeting. Will the committee please confirm the minutes contained in the agenda and those in Part B are a correct record?
Confirm.
Thank you very much. Item 6, here we go. This is the application for review of a premises licence for the Oriental House business. The subcommittee will consider the application for review of the premises held in respect of 2 St Botolph's Circus, Colchester. Could I invite the licence officer to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. As you've mentioned, the application before the committee this morning is for a review of the premises licence for the Oriental House. The application has been made by the Home Office on the grounds that the licensing objective for the prevention of crime and disorder is being undermined by permitting illegal working at the premises. Just to confirm, the application was duly served and has been advertised by the licensing authority in accordance with the Act. Thank you, Chairman.
Could you present your report, please?
Thank you, Chair and Committee. My name is Jack Davis. I'm Chief Immigration Officer for the Immigration Enforcement Team for the East of England. before I proceed any further, can I confirm that you've had time to read the review pack?
Yeah.
Okay,
Confirmed.
thank you.
Thank you.
I don't intend then to waste too much of your time by reading through it and repeating things that you're already well aware of. I'll just highlight some key points and happy to take any questions that I will hopefully be able to answer afterwards. The application relates to incidents that occurred last year following receipt of intelligence that there was illegal working being committed at this business, the Oriental House. On the 5th of February last year, immigration officers visited the premises where they spoke to the staff. A total of 5 of 8 staff were found to be working illegally. Initially, several of those said that they weren't working or attempted to evade immigration officers, but later, when interviewed, made admissions regarding their pay, their conditions, and the food and accommodation that was being provided to them. Following that, on the 25th of June last year, immigration officers visited in a low-key compliance visit to test the business to see if there was a cooperation and a change in their practices. On that occasion, several of the staff again sought to evade officers. One of them was seen and identified as being one of the people who'd been previously arrested and he was on bail. And the manager at the time refused to cooperate anyway with their inquiries and questioning, stating that he was far too busy in the business. Historically, this business was previously visited in 2014 on the 5th of March when 4 arrests were made after several attempts by staff to leave or escape from the premises in the manner that was repeated on this occasion. Following this visit, a civil penalty was imposed upon the business on the 24th of May 2025, and that was for an amount of £200,000. Now, in relation to civil penalties, it's open to businesses to speak with the civil penalty team, arrange payments, seek to have a reduction, show that they've changed their working and employment practices, and generally ensure compliance in the future. That fine or penalty has been unpaid. The company has been effectively dissolved into liquidation, and the assets and now the attempt to recover assets has been placed in the hands of third parties. The greatest concern in relation to this business in particular is that the staff, when being questioned closer, when management were not present at the business, admitted they were being paid a very small amount of money in cash. There'd been absolutely no checks on their employment status or on them, no provision of training to them, and that food and accommodation were part of the employment deal. As the committee may well be aware, that sort of arrangement is widely open to abuse and obviously to evasion of tax and national insurance and so on. But more of a concern is the potential for the risk to members of the public and to the staff there when there's no provision of training or support for them. It also provides an unfair advantage over those competitors who are trying to work legally and stay within the rules, and who do so at a financial cost, and in particular at the time that we're in, particularly financial hardship. As a result, obviously I'd invite you to consider all of the options and to take legal advice as to what you as a committee may decide. The Home Office is not here to lecture you as to what we would like to see. You're representatives of the local community, so it's entirely up to you what you decide may be the most appropriate action. But we would encourage you to consider revocation, even though this is the first time that review has been brought. If for no other reason than I think that a deterrent effect needs to be, and a message needs to be sent to other businesses that practices like this and will not see you dealt with reasonably by the local authority. They will take a harsh line in order to ensure that those who do stay within the rules are fully supported, and that we can spend the time that we need to as law enforcement to concentrate on the businesses that step outside those rules rather than unreasonably spending our time on those that don't. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to take any questions or answer anything else if I can to assist.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. Members of the committee, Lewis?
Thank you very much for the report, and both written and just now. In terms of the first compliance check you did at that time, could you just elaborate? Obviously, you didn't apply for a review at that point, and I think that sort of shows you invited, hopefully, a change in behaviour subsequently. But just to confirm, that you didn't see that when you did the lower key compliance visit?
The process that the Home Office takes a view over is that if businesses are willing to engage and we see a significant change in their approach with us, then it might be, for example, in this case, that a warning letter could be issued, that we might negotiate with the local licensing team and say, there has been a problem here, the information activity, we've seen a change in their approach, but pass the information on and make them aware, rather than to go to the extreme, and it is an extreme part of the process, to ask for a review. We don't generally seek for reviews, and certainly where there are low numbers of people being employed illegally, or where there's a low level of breach, we try to deal with it through other means. In this case, as I've outlined, there's been no engagement with the civil penalty team. There was no engagement with us when we returned, and there's been no payment of the penalty. There is an issue of arguing that perhaps it's double jeopardy to seek to revoke a licence whilst also imposing a fine. If we set aside for a moment the fact that the fine hasn't been paid in any event, the two things are very different. One is to take action for an offence that has occurred, the employment of the illegal workers, which, had they negotiated, they might have found that they could find a lower level fine and a payment plan. The other is to ensure that the law is being complied with in the future. And from our point of view, given that there was no element of cooperation, we feel that in this situation there's very little chance of us seeing any further cooperation without taking some action. And as I've said, in order to send a message to other businesses that we will support them, we will deal with those that don't cooperate appropriately. I hope that answers broadly what you're looking for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elizabeth Akinyemi.
Just curious to know, 8 workers were encountered when you visited the first time, the 3 that had licenses to work. The pay conditions, was it uniform across the 8 of them, or was there a difference?
It's a little bit complicated to answer that question, because once, as an immigration officer, once you've established that somebody's here lawfully, we don't tend to question them further. So whilst we may engage in a conversation with them, actual active questioning as to the practices and the business, is not necessarily pursued. In this case, those members of staff, and I was on this visit, those members of staff did not want to engage with us either. So having established that they were here lawfully, we've got very limited means of forcing them to speak to us or to disclose any information. So I can't really give an accurate answer as to whether they were on very different arrangements without verging into the realms of speculation, I'm afraid.
Another thing that crossed my mind is the 5 individuals that had no right to be working. Could there be an element of modern slavery, and what would be the lot after all of this?
I think it's fair to say that in any situation like this, there is a potential element of modern slavery, even if the person involved fully understands and is compliant and willing to undertake that. If you're being paid off the books, under the minimum wage, and with a little bit of food and accommodation as part of the deal, I don't really see it as anything other than some form of slavery. However, whether it falls into the realms of, or whether you would be able to prove that it falls into the realm of a criminal element of slavery, that's another question. I think your point is valid, that this kind of business, operating in this practice, there is an element of control that is being exercised over these people, whatever their status is, whatever their personal circumstances is, that none of us would like to see being exercised over ourselves.
The five people counted, is there a pathway for them to maybe return to their country of origin legally, or find another means?
There's several pathways, including a voluntary return service to allow them to return if they wish to their country of origin. Most don't, and in this situation none of them wanted to, but equally there is a pathway for those of them that want to speak openly about the situation they're in, to potentially move down the modern slavery route and be considered as victims. Again, in this situation, none of them wanted to. Whilst they engaged with us, it was limited engagement. I would suggest that is because there is an element of fear of them speaking to us, either from the control that might be exercised or from simply a natural fear of authority, which may come from their country of origin or their personal circumstances, or simply not fully understanding the situation regarding their immigration status.
Thank you very much for answering those questions. I've got a question myself. The first question really is to the licensing manager, Mrs. Sarah White. This is really for the record to confirm this. I believe it's true, but I want the confirmation that our policy for premises licensing in Colchester contains details of what a manager or a business owner should do, and one of those things is check for legality to work and engage with NHS, national insurance payments and tax. I believe that's in the policy, Mrs. White.
Chairman, there's a legal requirement to ensure that people working are registered. So there's a legal requirement. It doesn't actually sit within our policy, but it is the law to ensure that they're legally here to work.
Thank you. So the evidence, Mr. Davis, is that the business owner didn't do this on this case. It's very clearly from what you found in your evidence stated in this bundle says he didn't do that.
Even if all of the people who were arrested were lying about the fact that no checks had been undertaken, the opportunity to present the evidence that he had, and therefore a defence which would have ensured that he wasn't facing a fine and would have quashed any attempt for us to seek a licence review, would have gone had that happened. I can only conclude he hadn't undertaken those checks and had no records that could be produced.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for answering that. And my question on the last question I've got really is following up from Councillor Barber's very valid question about the March 2014 visit. Would a letter have been sent to them at that time, issuing sort of penalties or a warning, or at that time, because it's obviously 11 years since that happened? I just wondered whether any action was taken up after that.
I can only speculate as I don't have the full details. At that time, the Home Office and Immigration were not covered by the Licensing Act, so there would have been, if any information had happened, it would have been passed to the police and nothing more. In relation to the civil penalty, the process has changed very significantly in the last 10 years. So they may have faced a much lower level fine, but given that there's no mention of that in the pack that I was provided with from the civil penalty team, I assume that there was no penalty at that time issued.
Councillor Barber.
Sorry, just a final question or comment, really, I suppose more for officers. We've obviously heard the applicant's submissions, and I think Councillor Harris just referenced about the opportunity to provide evidence. Obviously, the respondent's not here today, but did have the opportunity to attend and provide any written responses or oral responses at the hearing today, just for confirmation.
Yes, they did. We've hand-delivered notice of hearing and evidence bundles to them, so they've had every opportunity to engage in the process.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to confirm, we did have written confirmation, so they're aware that this is going ahead and have declined to attend, so we have had confirmation.
Lovely, thank you for confirming.
Thanks for the questions, councillors. It's your chance now to sum up, but before we do that, I'll ask our solicitor if you wanted to say a few words.
Yes, just to say that obviously the committee will be privately advised, but be advised to make a decision based on everything that's in the papers, everything they've heard today, and weight will obviously be given to the fact that we've not heard from the respondent, and the committee is entitled to put weight onto that.
Thank you very much. Your chance to sum up.
Thank you. I don't really think there's anything else that I can add that you need to be aware of. As I've said earlier, you're the local elected representatives of the community. It really is in your hands to make what decision you're comfortable with, and the office will support that whichever way you choose to go. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I now formally adjourn the meeting, where we retire to another room and make a decision in private. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Reconvening the meeting, 22nd of January. Now, following careful deliberations, the licensing subcommittee has reached the decision to revoke the licence held by Xin He Wang in relation to the premises known as Oriental House 2 St Botolph Circus, Colchester, CO2 7EF. In reaching its decision, the subcommittee carefully considered the very detailed information which were in place before it as part of the review application and by the Home Office during the hearing. The subcommittee noted that the licence holder had not engaged with the Home Office immigration enforcement officers or with the review proceedings, despite ample opportunity to do so, and it indicated that they would not attend the hearing. In the light of this, the subcommittee had no confidence that the licence holder would take steps necessary to uphold the licensing objectives in the future. All parties in the hearing have the right to appeal this decision to the Magistrates' Court, and further information in relation to this right will be provided by the licensing officer. Thank you. I now close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.